Hello, and welcome my beautiful friends and family to another video. Today we're going to be doing a blood test comparison. So we're going to be comparing my blood from before I went vegan to now that I have been vegan for almost 4 years now. And
all right, 4 years ago, Brian. Let's see how you stack up to 8 years vegan, Brian. What is up, my beautiful friends and family? Welcome back. Today I have a very interesting video because I recently got my blood tested and I also recently got the most accurate body fat test in the world, a DEXA Scan, and I'm gonna be sharing all of the results with you guys. A little fair warning, a few of my blood test values were out of range. So we're gonna talk about that, but let's get into it and see how everything is looking as an 8-year vegan. All right, first, let's do the DEXA Scan. So if you've never heard of this before, it's a machine that uses a dual X-ray to scan your entire body, and it gives you an extremely accurate muscle mass, body fat, and bone density result. So if you've been following my socials, you know that I've been working my vegan booty off dieting for the last like 3-4 months to get as lean as I can before I start my next bulk. So I wanted to get some baseline numbers to compare to once I'm, 6 months and a year into the bulk. So let's go.
Hi guys.
All right, let's go get this DEXA Scan.
Woo!
What do you think body fat I am at right now?
9.
My guess is 12%.
I was gonna say that first.
All right, you say 9,
9.
I say 12.
Okay.
Let's find out. I said 12, she said 9.
9.
9?
Nuh-uh.
Wow, you're right.
Dude, I'm so psychic.
Wow.
Certified lean.
Oh my god.
Wow, we're in the singles, that's awesome.
I guessed it. I was right.
That is surprising for sure. Thought it would be higher. I still have a couple more weeks till I'm done with this and I start my bulk, so.
You guys wouldn't know this unless you had this job specifically. That's not a lot of yellow.
Okay.
Yellow is the fat, orange is the lean tissue.
Okay.
It's like the tiny little bit on the bottom of your foot. Yeah, that's the fat that's on your body.
Yeah, I gotta start doing foot workouts.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the results are in 9.3%. Woo! It's not bad. That's lower than I thought. That's pretty excellent. So that is 17.2 pounds of fat tissue, 167.7 pounds of lean tissue. I'm really stoked to hear about this because it actually helps me to visualize what I look like when I am at a legit 9% body fat. So another really cool thing that a DEXA Scan does is it shows you your visceral fat, which is the fat that's inside of your organs. This is really important just health-wise because a higher visceral fat is a huge cause of mortality. So we really want that to be low. And my total is 0.39 pounds of visceral fat. The dude who was doing this scan for me said that this is one of the lowest he's ever seen. So get used to me, because I'm not going anywhere, carnies. Now the last thing that is really cool is the test gives you exact readouts of where your body fat is dispersed for each limb and each part of the body. So this is crazy because it explains how, some people have really lean arms or abs or legs, even when they get to higher body fats. And I tend to hold on to my abs even when I'm bulking, and so it's gonna be really interesting to see where my fat is officially dispersed. So like I said, my overall body fat is 9.3%, but my trunk, which is the neck, chest, abdominal, and pelvic region, it is 8.2%. This is really interesting though, because my android region, which is basically just the lower abs area, it's 6.5% body fat. My arms come in at 8.3% body fat and my legs are at 9.6% body fat. So all of this is really genetic dispersing of fat. You really can't change where any of your fat is stored. You can lower your overall body fat by dieting, obviously, but you can't change the ratio of where the body fat is held. So basically, I hold more of my fat in my legs and then my arms and finally my abs, which makes a lot of sense. Throughout the years, I've noticed it's really, really hard for me to get very lean legs, but my abs and my arms tend to pop more easily. So cool. It makes sense. So the last thing the DEXA shows that's really cool is it shows your resting metabolistic rate, which is the amount of calories your body needs to maintain its mass when you aren't doing any exercise or any activity, right? So mine is 1,985 calories. And then if we adjust it for my workouts each day, it takes it up to 3,375 calories. This is really, really interesting because I'm currently aiming for something like 2,600, 2,700 calories while I'm dieting, which is around a 600 or 700 calorie deficit. That's completely fine, and I've held on to mass really well, like actually the best I've ever done while dieting in my 15 years of lifting. But this number is really useful because I can dial it in even further while cutting or bulking, so I can really limit the amount of muscle mass lost while dieting or body fat added while bulking. I'm definitely gonna be using this number for my bulk coming up. All right, now let's jump into my blood tests. Let's figure out what's going good, what's not going so good. So as a vegan bodybuilder, I like to do a hormone panel every year, sometimes even more often, just to see where my testosterone, where my estrogen levels are, because obviously those play a mad important part in gaining muscle and losing body fat, all that kind of stuff. But then I also like to do an overall health panel because that helps me to see how my liver's functioning, my cholesterol, my white blood cell counts, just overall health, all that good stuff. First, let's take a look at my total testosterone. Now, the last time I got this tested was in 2019, and I scored a 596 in January, and then a month later, I scored a 698. This time, my results were 587. Now, testosterone fluctuates regularly, so it goes up and down throughout the day, throughout the month, right? So all this makes sense, and it really just shows that my testosterone has been pretty consistent over the years. Now, what's more important than your total testosterone is your free testosterone, because this is the testosterone that isn't binded, so it can actually do what testosterone does best, right? My free testosterone level is 76.1, and the range that they give is 35 to 155. So that looks totally fine. I'm pretty much right smack dab in the middle of the average range. Nice. Now, as a vegan, I've heard so many dudes at the gym tell me that they could never be vegan and they can't eat tofu because it raises your estrogen and gives you soy boobies. So let's look at my estrogen. My estradiol, which is just another term for estrogen, is 27. And we want to be under 39. So looks like I'll continue eating my tofu. Now, if we take a look at my overall metabolic panel, everything is looking great in the normal ranges. So things like calcium, glucose, my liver levels, all of it's in normal ranges, so I won't go over each one. That would be really boring. We all know that vegans have great cholesterol levels, and I'm no exception. My total is 132, and you should be under 200. That's great. My good cholesterol, HDL, is 51, and we want to be above 40, so that's great. My bad LDL cholesterol is 67. We want to be under 100. So again, all that looks fantastic. My CBC panel, which is things like white and red blood cell count, are all within the normal ranges. This is really important for immune function and the ability to fight off sickness. So great, all that's looking fantastic. Now, let's move on to the two results that were out of range. So the first one is SHBG, or sex hormone binding globulin. Now, SHBG binds to total testosterone and prevents it from being absorbed by your androgen receptors. So when I was talking about total testosterone versus free testosterone earlier, this is what binds to your total test and then prevents it from being absorbed by your androgen receptors. And that is why your free testosterone is a more important value to look at in terms of whether you're gonna be able to gain muscle normally or not, right? My levels of SHBG are at 73, and the normal range is 10 to 50. So mine is a little bit high. And I've had this tested in the past and it was also a bit high. So now that I see it again, I can start to do something about it because this is obviously a trend. Now, interestingly enough, it's pretty common for SHBG to be high in vegans, and luckily it's not a dangerous thing to be high in, like having high cholesterol, right? That's really dangerous. But it does mean that you're enjoying less of the benefits of your natural testosterone, right? The cool thing about SHBG is I can supplement with things like boron, which help to reduce the overall SHBG levels. So I may start doing that and then get a follow-up blood test just to see if it worked and it was able to reduce that level. Okay, now let's look at the other result. This is TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone. So my level is 6.98 and the normal range is 0.4 to 4.5. So my TSH is high. So TSH is released by the pituitary gland in order to stimulate your thyroid to release more of its hormones of T4 and T3. And those hormones play a big part in your overall metabolism, your ability to lose fat, all that kind of stuff, right? When your TSH is high, it usually means that your body is noticing that your thyroid hasn't been producing enough of the T3 or T4. And it's basically trying to say, hey, wake up thyroid, start working harder, make more T3, T4. So it's important when you have a high TSH to also look at what your T3 or T4 levels are. And if they are low while your TSH is high, it means that you have something called hypothyroidism, which basically just means your thyroid isn't working well. So when we look at both of my levels, my T4 is 0.9 and the range is 0.8 to 1.8. And my T3 is 3.7 with a range of 2.3 to 4.2. So both of my T3 and T4 are in the normal ranges. This is called subclinical hypothyroidism. So the weird thing here is that this is actually pretty common. It happens in about 10% of adults in America, and there really is no treatment. Usually doctors just have kind of like this wait and see mentality instead of giving you like thyroxine, like a thyroid medication, because the metabolism is working fine. T3 and T4 levels are in regular ranges, right? And your metabolism is fine. I have no problem. I'm not like adding a bunch of fat or anything like that. So usually TSH actually comes back down to a regular level on its own. So there's nothing that I can really do here in terms of like changing my diet or supplements. This is something that I need to get tested again, possibly in a few months, and just keep an eye on it. And hopefully, since this is the only time my TSH has ever been high, the next blood test I do, it'll be back in the normal range. And yeah, I'll be fine. Fingers crossed. So we just covered a ton of information. I think that getting a blood test and even a DEXA scan is super important for everybody to do because it helps you see what's happening under the hood. But I think it's even more important for us vegans to really take an active role in making sure that what we are doing is really healthy, but also sustainable, because everything might seem fine until one day when it isn't fine. And then you have people who have to quit veganism because something was out of whack. A lot of times with a blood test, you can see what's not going completely right. And if it's because of like a nutritional deficiency, like a low intake of iodine or omega-3s or whatever, you can address that before it manifests into a much bigger problem. I personally want to give veganism a good name, so I get blood tests every year. I really think that you should too. Yo, on another note, if you're a vegan and you're trying to get that summer body ready, baby, hit me up on Instagram with the word coach. I'll send you a message back. It'll probably be a voice message because that's the fastest, easiest way for me. We can chat, see if my online vegan fitness coaching is right for you, and then we can get started. If you like this video, support me with a thumbs up and a comment, and I'll see you beautiful people next time.
Beyond the week. CT, every